Welcome back to the 670 project. This is episode 7, where we work on the design for the custom oil pan. Where we left off last week, we'd done the first prototype of the oil pan rail. We still need to refine that a bit, but we also have to work on the body of the oil pan itself. So our main consideration is just clearing all the components, the diff and the steering arm, and that there's enough oil capacity to supply the motor, which will be a challenge with the diff so close to the engine. But I'm really happy to have the 3D scan. Trying to do this with cardboard aided design be a bit tricky, so I'm happy to be using actual computer aided design this time. So I started off just extruding down as far as I thought I could go while keeping good ground clearance, and then just started chipping away, carving out sections to clear the components. The steering arm there, and then for the diff, and then slowly added bits in to fill up any of the gaps that were left behind. Big drop down section at the rear, bit more angle at the front, and then filled in sort of around this area just in front of the diff. And that got me to basically this shape here, but we're nowhere near capacity. I think this clocked in at about 3 litres. So I do have to allow that the oil level is actually 35 millimeters down from the lip here. So that takes away a lot of our capacity. But this was a good starting point. I wanted to make sure this was going to fit just like it looks like it does here. So I 3D printed this. It was too large for my 3D printer to do in one piece, so I split it to 4 pieces, printed them out, and bolted them up to the bottom of the motor. So I'll take you over there to see the results. Here we have the 3D printed oil pan prototype. I just printed in the cheapest PLA I could find. It's like 2 perimeters thick, completely empty on the inside, so it's really fragile. But plenty good enough for this purpose. Just want to make sure all this stuff clears the diff and the steering arm. Bolts up pretty good. Happy with most of it. Still got to make a few small adjustments. I stuffed up on the rear. You remember I had an issue with these holes matching up. So I was meant to move these in 1.5 millimeters. And I must have gone the wrong direction, because now we're 3 millimeters off in the, out this way, and this is overhanging by a fair bit. So mistake on my part, but that's what these prototypes are for. Double checking stuff fits before the big event. And I did come across another issue. The factory dipstick tube is on the exhaust side of the motor, but that's also where I've cut the sump right down for the diff clearance. So the dipstick won't go in far enough. We're a good, 2-inch, 50 mil out. There is another factory hole at the front here, but that doesn't help us either because it's still on the shallow side. So as I was saying, further increased capacity, I'm gonna have a wing sticking out on this side, and I'll probably just fit a tube onto that and then find a way to route the dipstick, somewhere down past the intake manifold there. It'd be nice if I could use the factory dipstick tube. Let's see if that works. I have, a zinc plated that again. Looks quite good. But if I have to, I might just use, you can get aftermarket flexible dipsticks, which I've actually got in the Tirana here. For the transmission oil, they're a braided flexible line, and then this can be mounted anywhere, and quite easy solution for a dipstick. So yeah, I'll readjust these holes, and I'm going to carve, I guess, at an MDF, a full flange. Make sure the flange is spot on before I go cutting up any aluminium. But I'll also sit this motor back on the chassis, and we'll make sure we've got good clearance around all these components and work out how much room I have to go this way. As you can see, the sump would sit about here as I've got it. There's plenty of room to go out to this side and get the capacity we require. So we'll get to that. As you can see, I've cut out a 3mm MDF template to check the fitment on the sump. And we're close, but no cigar. The ones with the bolts in it are spot on, happy with those. I've adjusted these two holes and I'm not sure what I've done, but I'm way off. The hole's actually about here, so these need to come, out by about 5mm. And I adjusted the rear here, and I'm very close. The holes are off by about 0.5 mm. I've come a bit too far in with the actual rail, so the rail will go back. I'll probably go back 2mm. I won't go right to the edge, so I don't want it to be touching the gearbox and fouling there. But yeah, I'll adjust all these just about 0.5 mm back a touch. In regards to the edge, on this curve here, I'm very slightly off. It's really nice across the front, across there, that's pretty much actually sticking out just a tiny bit there. I can just get my fingernail on there. The rest of it's flush. So yeah, very close, very happy. As I was measuring up and everything, I actually realized all these bolts are parallel to the front and back of the block. Whoever designed the bolt pattern's got OCD like me, so they're all centered from the center line of the crank. They're all the same distance this way, and they're all perpendicular and then parallel to the front and back. So it's quite satisfying. I would have added probably another set of bolts in between, just because I hate oil pans leaking. That gap there is a bit big. But yeah, I'll make these few adjustments. I'll cut another template and we'll double check that, and hopefully we're spot on. This is my highly modified Chinese 6040 CNC. It's originally made for wood cutting, but I've upgraded it a bit to handle soft metals like aluminium and brass. But yeah, here's version 2 of the template for the block. Let's get it cut. Okay, well, that cut out nicely. The tape in the corners just stop it from flapping about, not really hold it down. You see a dust collection collects all the real fine dust, which is what I'm mainly worried about. I don't want to be breathing that in. Some of the larger bits still get through. Want to add some bristles to the skirt or flaps or something, so it sort of, because I have to have it up a little bit to clear the clamps. But it's still much better than nothing, and then my little barriers catch all the bigger stuff anyway. Undo these clamps. And there we've got bit. I've got little tabs holding it together just so this doesn't come off while it's machining, but it's pretty easy to remove those with a chisel, which I'll show you next. So here's just standard woodwork chisel. I'm just going to go around and nip off those little tabs. If I had a vacuum table, it'd be great. I could just cut without tabs. There is a masking tape trick, but this is just faster for something like this, where I don't really worry about it too much. If anyone's got any tips on how to get cleaner cuts on MDF, these are only tiny little wisps that come off even with just rubbing it. But yeah, I'm using a straight volute cutter. Seems worse on this thinner stuff. The thicker stuff, I'm not sure why, but it doesn't have fluffy edges quite as much. But yeah, I know you can get down cut bits. So I'm not sure if that's best for MDF or what. If anyone's got any tips, chuck it in the comments below. Is that all of them? Oh, a couple more. I think that's it. Just this one here. Yeah, and then it's just, they come off super easy. But yeah, still be nice if you didn't have to worry about trimming them, cleaning it up after. But yeah, I'll get it cleaned up and we'll see how this one fits. Hopefully we're perfect now. Version 2 of the Oil Pan Flange. I guess version 3 or so if you count the 3D print. But yeah, very happy. All the bolts went straight in. And we're really nice and tight against the edge of the block there. There's this tiny bit. You could go a little bit wider just there. I didn't go all the way back this way because that weld's going to get a bit close to the bolt head. So I've left that forwards. Yeah, really nice along there. I pushed that back a little bit and we're flush now. So yeah, I think I'll call that good. I think there was one bolt hole I'll adjust by 0.1 of a millimeter. The bolt was just slightly hard to get in. But all these bolt holes are still 6mm. They'll get enlarged to at least 6.5, maybe even, yeah, probably just 6.5mm. So there'll be a little bit, tiny bit of clearance anyway. But yeah, I'm gonna call that good. I'm going to fit up the 3D printed sump now and put that back in the car with the motor. And we'll see if she's gonna clear the diff and steering arm, the axle. So, gonna have lunch now. I'll get that done and I'll see you in a minute. 3D printed sump is in place. I'm actually pretty stoked with a 3D scanner. To get this fit the first time, not hit anything, it's pretty impressive. There's no way I could get all these sort of complicated shapes that easily with just, you know, cardboard and tape. You know, you would have, but it would have taken a lot longer. There is some adjustments to be made. I've got a 10mm Allen key because that's the gap I want to have everywhere. You can see just here, I'm, you know, just shy of that, maybe 9.5mm. So to move that face up a tiny bit. On top of the diff, we're actually quite close. We've only got about 5mm of clearance there. So that's got to go up a little. I was looking at this little, I guess you call it an ear on the diff. If I cut that off flush with the aluminium cover, I could actually match the radius of the aluminium cover, and instead of going right out to here, I could bring this back and sort of match that shape there, gain a little bit of capacity there. Not much, but you know, take 2 seconds to grind that off and get some extra clearance. You see where, yeah, a little bit tight there. Around the axle, good clearance there. I've got a good 10mm. There is these little, same as like on a diff, there's little ears. There's two of them. Not sure what that would be for, but you can see they're clear, but you know, not my 10mm. But I prefer to just grind those little ears off. I doubt they're for balancing the axle. They're 180 degrees out, apart from each other.
Yeah, so I'm going to grind those off as well, unless someone can think of a reason not to. Oops, sorry. Yeah, so I've got good clearance this side, except for that ear. It gets tight, if I can point to it, just up there, she gets a bit tight. So I'll make some adjustments on that side. This bottom section, I think I could come out more vertical. There's all this room here, which is being wasted at the moment. So I'll adjust that. But as you can see, I've got a lot of room to come out the side this way. So I'm actually going to fit up the clutch slave, make sure that clears, because that sits just here. Pretty sure it won't be a problem, but double check that. And then I'll extend this out, you know, out to here. Sort of, I'm not sure how far forwards I'll come, but that will give me a fair bit more capacity. And that's about it, I think. Pretty happy. I'd like to incorporate a oil drain return. You never know, someone might need to put a turbo on this one day. There's not much room here. I've actually got to go up higher to put a turbo oil return here. So let's just look at this side. Yeah, it's a bit of a bummer there's not much room for that. But yeah, I'll keep that in mind. But yeah, I think I'll work out what I'm going to add on here. I'll print that out just so I can put it in place and make sure that fits. As for sump depth, I can go deeper. You know, I don't want to go too deep and have it be a issue of hitting stuff. You see it's got this cross member here and the diff cross member. I'll go around the other side. So I'm well clear of it at the moment. I can bring this down to probably, let's see, line this up. Yeah, probably about to there. Maybe level that out instead of being on the angle. Although if I put the oil drain right here, that being on an angle will make that drain really well. So keep that in mind, and that's going to be extended. I might reduce the angle, instead of, yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, but overall, I'm very happy with how it's fitting. You know, it's not actually hitting anywhere at the moment. I could leave it like that. I would like a little bit more clearance, but at the same time, I would like that a bit deeper to fit an oil drain on there. I could always make like an oval shaped pipe that comes out and up to a normal like -8 fitting, -10 or something, -12, whatever. So that's possible. Yeah, but I'll make the adjustment on this and we'll check how it fits.
Back in Fusion 360, and I made those few adjustments that we talked about. And now I need to look at oil capacity. The oil level sits at this line here. So if we take that away, that gives us 2.8 litres, which factory sump had 3.6 litres capacity, so we're under that. But from our measurements of the chassis, I came up with this extension wing. Now it's not the best looking thing, but I've got to work with what I got. And with those two together, that brings our capacity up to 4.6 litres. So I'm quite happy with that. It's good litre over standard, so it won't give us any troubles. And the only other thing I've changed is adding on provision for a oil drainback port, should anyone want to add a turbo in future, whoever that may be. But before we start fabrication on the sheet metal, We need to finalize this plan and get that machine from aluminium.
So it's the next day. This is still the same 3D print for the version 1 of the sump, but I printed out the extension and I've just stuck that on the side. As you can see, still got plenty of room to the chassis, enough room to get the bolts in. That's actually where the oil level will be. What else? You can see I actually lowered the sump a tiny bit, and I'm going to have that cut flat with the ground level, whereas before it was on the angle to match the tilt of the engine. And yeah, I have changed that so it just fills out this section here. I can go a lot lower, but I've got enough capacity. It's 4.6 litres. I was worried, you know, for off-roading, you're going over a rock, it's grind past this bit, and then it pops up to here. I didn't want to hang in too low. It's slightly higher than the axle. I probably will be building, you know, diff guards and stuff for under here anyway. But yeah, there's enough capacity there. I'll probably gain, what, another half litre if I went a bit lower. But I think that's enough. Yeah, plenty of clearance around all the components. I don't know if I mentioned this already, but I fit the clutch sleeve, and the one that came on this car actually sticks right out into here. But I hope I found another version that is slightly different shape from the 240SX that will fit and sticks out sort of this direction. So hopefully that solves that problem. Otherwise I might have to put in a bit of a cutout in here to clear the slave cylinder. But I think we're ready to go ahead with the fabrication. And next will be CNC machine the flange for the sump.
And we're at the CNC, about to take first cuts in aluminium. And I quite quickly realised it's firing a barrage of aluminium chips, which I start off trying to block with my hand, and I realise I probably should get something else. I used to have a complete enclosure for this machine, but I moved it recently, and I was trying to get away with just this little side walls, but it's obviously not quite effective. I've got to improve that vacuum skirt a bit more, and hopefully sort of enclose it that way. Otherwise, I'll go back to full enclosure. But yeah, great angle here with the wood running away. There she goes, around and around. Where she stops, nobody knows. And I haven't got my mist coolant set up again yet, so I'll just spray in with WD-40 every now and again. And being quite conservative with the cuts, this is the only 10mm piece of aluminium I had, so didn't want to stuff it up. I'm only taking a 2mm depth of cut, but it is a full slot at 6mm wide. So it's already cut the internal contour, and moving on to the external. I have actually already cut the bolt holes in a previous operation. I also machine a small step on the internal contour so that it gives me a spot to sit the aluminium sheet in nice and easy. So yeah, this goes around a bunch of laps. I did clean it up and do a small finishing pass and engraved my business name and put a chamfer on off camera. But I'll get it all cleaned up and I'll show you some of the glory shots. Just finished machining the sump rail and it is beautiful. Can't be happier than that. Remember to engrave it as well. Yeah, now we got a great base. We can work on fabricating the rest of the sump. It's funny that I thought I was going to get the whole sump finished in this video, but yeah, as you can see, all I got done is the flange. But yeah, very happy with it. All the bolts went straight in, and we're good to go fabricating the sump body itself. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.
So what do you reckon, mate? It's pretty good? What's good? You got your hands dirty, didn't you?
Yeah, dirty fingers.
Don't touch anything. Blah.